Hello, friends. Welcome to yet another episode of Tea Talks with Owen. My name is Owen Fernandez, and I wish you, everyone who's watching this, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today, the topic that we have selected is dealing with frustrations. And I'm sure a lot of people all throughout the world have experienced COVID, something that we have never experienced before. It's almost a year and a half, and I'm sure, just as I am a little bit frustrated with COVID, many of you can relate to this topic. So, the question here today is how are we going to deal with this frustration? So, grab a cup of tea or coffee, relax as I take you how to handle and how to deal with frustrations. So, before we can go on to the topic, please let me know in the chat box from where are you watching for. So let's get going. At the start, I would like to ask you all this question. What do you do when it feels like you are out of options? You have tried so many things, but nothing seems to work. How do you handle not having a handle in the first place? How do you do that? A little bit of technical niche. Or is it possible for you to recall a recent event, something fresh, where you have experienced extreme frustrations? It could be like a loss of a loved one. It could be something that you have tried and it never came to fruition. It could be something like you've applied for a dream job, continuously expecting that something would turn out your way, but it has never turned out your way. A relationship that you thought would revive itself, but slowly and steadily your dreams are dwindling away. Or it could be even with finances, your finances dwindling. Now you have to understand, friends, that life does not always turn out the way we would like to. I'm sure many of us want to get life right, but sometimes life does take us to the left, and there is a possibility of frustration setting in. Sometimes it's difficult to understand why this happens to us. Now, while we are not allowed to question life at times, we are definitely allowed to process the emotions that come as a result of certain situations where we feel that we are not in control. And during these times, our true character is exposed. How we handle ourselves during these times will often make or break us. So please let me know in the chat, where are you watching this from? So let's delve into this topic straight away. What is frustration? What is frustration? Hello, Coyote. Nice to see you. Greetings from Nigeria. Greetings to Nigeria. Now, what is frustration? Now, friends, you and I know throughout our lives, we have acquired hundreds of demanding skills. Some very tough, some not so very tough. Now, every time a new challenge comes onto the horizon, the old pattern reappears, and sometimes we start feeling insecure, inadequate, and of course, frustrated. It is then that this imposter syndrome brings in self doubt. It knocks at the doors of our mind and brings in a lot of negativity, and we start to panic. And then our mind starts getting a little bit a feeling of unrest, and frustration sets in. So, I would basically define frustration as a feeling, a state of emotion. Oh, I see my friend Rajesh Naik from Singapore. It's been a long time. Good morning, Shalaka. You're up today. Shalaka says that expectations not fulfilled results in frustrations. Very true, Shalaka. Okay, so frustration can be simply defined as a feeling of being upset or annoyed as a result of being unable to change or achieve something. Now, let me make it very clear, friends out here, frustration is not, I repeat, is not a precursor to defeat. If at all it is anything, it is a test of your personal fortitude and a sign that you may have to do something in order to change the way you feel. So, needless to say, we shouldn't run away from frustrations. We shouldn't mask that we are not going through it because it's something that we as human beings are bound. We are bound to come across times of frustrations. So, we don't even have to destructively channelize it in a way in which we expose the vulnerability and we expose our immaturity in the times of frustrations. So, frustration here can be both enraging as well as energizing. So take a few moments out here and let me know how exactly you could capture frustration, your personal frustration, life's personal frustration in the form of an emotion. Go ahead and basically just express yourself in the chat box. Good morning, Vinny. Vinny says, frustration is a feeling arising from dissatisfaction of an action. Wow, wonderful. A feeling arising from dissatisfaction of an action. Mondo International Academy, my friend Andre talks about frustrations. Can you just imagine the frustration that is happening between Israel and Palestine right now as we speak here? People are just frustrated as to when, when are we going to see the end of all this? So frustration is both enraging and, if you change your perspective, what if I told you it could be energizing as well? We win when we use this energy to our advantage. So you may ask me, Owen, how do we do that? Is it possible? I say there is no harm in trying. So Bo Bennett said, frustration, although quite painful at times, is a very positive and essential part of success. Friends, have you given a thought to this? Or have you seen frustration from this angle? A very positive and an essential part of success. Friends, we don't grow when things are easy, when things, appear to be smooth. We grow when we face challenges. Adversities, in fact, bring out our true nature, our true character, and it exposes who we actually are. So, how does one know that we are frustrated? Are there any signs visible or invisible that you can know or some other people can know watching you that you are frustrated? Go ahead and share in the chat box anything that you feel is a sign of frustration. Nice to see you, Peter, again. Signs of frustration. For me, right at the top is anger. Is there anyone that has not experienced anger? Is there anyone that has not been triggered to some sort of rage? Now, in frustration, there is a high possibility that you could show emotions of anger leading to possible aggression. Now, there is a saying, frustration begets anger, and anger begets aggression. What do we do then? We direct our anger and aggression towards the object perceived as the cause of the frustration. Now, for example, if it's a machine and it does not work, it could be possible that in frustration, you could show an emotion of anger and you might hit it or kick it. The first sign of frustration for me personally right at the top, then of course there is a possibility that you could show signs of frustration when you just easily give up. You show lack of patience. You're not in a position to persevere patiently. You might even give up some big projects at the first sign of an obstacle that could possibly lead to frustration. Then of course there is a loss of confidence, as I said about the imposter sign, the imposter sign. There could be a possibility of doubts, even though, friends, even though you could have handled something similar in the past with relative ease. Suddenly you lose confidence. Then the most damaging, self-damaging aspect that shows that you are showing signs of frustration is stress. Now, what does this stress do? It could cause continuous headaches, depression, hypertension, migraines, ulcers, and could result even in heart attacks. It also shows that when you're constantly nervous, pacing up and down, you're showing signs of restlessness. There is something in you that does not allow you to rest, that does not allow you to be at peace. It's also a sign of frustration. Then, if you go a little bit further, when you suffer from anxiety, it's a sign that you are having frustration. Rajesh Nayak says humans experience a sense of security and peace when they are in control of things around them. Very true. Now, when they aren't, Rajesh says frustration kicks in as a response. Rightly said. Good morning, Edwin. I hope the weather in Canada is better. So, if you go a little bit further, there are various signs of frustration, and one of them could be possibly long periods of sadness. Long periods of sadness says that something isn't right, something that you want, something that you expect, something isn't working for you. It could also impact your sleep. And you and I know, as we seen in the last episode, that sleep is extremely vital to your well being. A good sleep says that you could be possibly in control of life, irrespective about the ups and downs. But lack of sleep, even getting nightmares, waking up in the middle of the night, troubled sleep could be a possible sign of frustration. Then this could also go into your digestive system, trouble eating, anorexia, or obesity, or eating junk food continuously. For the layman that does not see you on a daily basis, he may not even get an idea about why are you doing the things that you're doing. It could possibly be signs of frustration. Abuse, use of doing drugs, and excessive drinking of alcohol, all these and more are signs of frustrations. For me, when I get frustrated, and I do get frustrated, but of course, over long, the intervals are, rare, but definitely I'm just as ordinary a person as you are. Now, when I get frustrated, I have a problem to focus on something at hand, to focus on long. So what do I do? I'll share what I do with you a little bit later out there. Now, Edward says it's bright and sunny, 28 degrees in Toronto. Good for you. Here in Europe, we are having some sort of a weather that is neither making us look forward to summer, nor it is showing that spring has finally arrived. It's a big challenge here in Europe, for us at least here. So, what could cause frustration? Here, there are two triggers that causes frustration, and you need to know exactly where is this frustration coming from. Firstly, it could be internal frustration. Now, internal frustration is where you are frustrated with yourself or your reaction. You are responsible for creating this kind of frustration. It can mean that you are unhappy with the way you reacted in a particular situation. On the other hand, there is a second type of frustration called external frustration. Now, external frustration is where the stressor or the thing that is causing you frustration is outside of you. So you need to know, you need to sense, where is this frustration? Is it something to do with you, or it's something that is triggered from outside? Now, here you need to understand that in the situation that we are going through, a year and a half of COVID was triggered externally, but is it creating something of a frustration internally within us as well? Now, one of the biggest sources of frustrations that I have seen in today's world is the frustration caused by something called the perception of wasting time. I repeat, frustration caused by the perception of wasting time. Now, to give you a few examples, is like when you are standing in queue at the bus station or waiting in the line at a bank to get a counter, or stalled in a heavy traffic because of some accident or simply because of excessive rain, or on the phone watching the day go by when you know that you have got so much to do, and suddenly you feel that you are wasting time, and then you feel frustrated. If you are on the call today listening to this episode, let me know if any of these reasons that I talked about that causes frustration is something that you can identify with. For me, in the mornings, when I take my kids to school, or if I have to come from this side of town to that side of town, especially in peak hours, it's extremely difficult to predict when to start and when not to start. And then when you are basically right in the center of a huge traffic jam, not knowing how long will it take, especially when you have an appointment, it could be quite frustrating. So, there are two kinds of frustrations, as I said, internal frustrations and external frustrations. And you need to know and you need to be able to identify them. Now, how do we deal with frustrations? And this is basically the core of the topic. And I'm going to show you, or I'm going to share with you at least around 7 points. We should learn that while many situations in itself may be upsetting and causing frustrations, friends, we have the choice to be frustrated and be a victim to it, or not to be frustrated. Now, this is what I have learned in life. Accepting life as it comes is one of the secrets of avoiding frustrations. Now, my question to you today is, can we turn frustration into fuel? Can we turn frustrations into fuel? Now, fuel, as you and I know, can burn, but it can also propel and give energy and life to, say, for example, machines. So, today, let me share 7 ways of dealing with frustrations and turning frustrations into possible fuel in a position from vulnerability to taking advantage of. The first one is recognize what you can change and what you can't. According, according to many researchers, it is the ability that we need to know, are we playing God? That we need to be in control of everything? Or actually, are we in control of anything for that matter? I'm talking about total control all the time. Accepting the situation can relieve frustrated feelings when you realize you don't have control over what happened. For example, Corona. Yes, while there is some sort of conspiracy theory saying that it was deliberately triggered somewhere in China and blah, 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 you also have to understand that if you have not triggered it, why are you showing so excessive signs of frustration and damaging and bringing stress to you and your loved ones? So the first one is recognize what you can change and what you can't. The second one is pause. Now, here, I want you to actually take a pause and acknowledge what's coming out of you. It's a great moment of self reflection to see your own self, see how you show up in the face of frustrations. Now, whatever we resist stays with us longer than we'd like to. It shows who we are and what we are made for. We can use frustration as a trigger to look at our judgments. We can use this as a trigger to check what's internally going on and from where are these feelings coming in. Pasho is my pastor in church. He says that turning frustration into fuel is great. So why don't we turn this entire frustration upside down and use it as a self reflection exercise, pausing and seeing ourselves as to how do we react and from where does these emotions come out and why. Number 3, identify the disconnect or the gap. Experiencing frustrations, my friend, often means something isn't going the way we want to. We can use it as a trigger to check what we expect at that moment. It could mean definitely that there is something we need to learn or do differently. Winnie shares here says, recognize what we can and we cannot change. Of course, she's repeating point number 1 to the for the help of to help people watching this. Thank you so much, Winnie. Identify the disconnect or the gap between expectations and reality. Check your ego as well. Number 4, turn your expectations into appreciation. Now, what does this mean? If we become aware of our expectations and we know that our expectations are false or are not practical, we can use to release them. Now, as we release them, we can train ourselves to be grateful for the things that are going well for us. Why be complainers all the time? Pause, reflect, internalize things, check how you show up, find out the gap, learn to appreciate. Number 5, but this is very important, refocus and recommit to what you want. Now, now you need to know how urgently, how desperately do you need certain things. Now, in the face of obstacles, you could feel frustrated and just give up. Napoleon Hill says that the desire, burning desire, is a starting point of all achievement. So, if something has not worked for you, all you need to know is that something must have gone wrong somewhere. Refocus and recommit and redo. Having emotions of frustrations come up suggests something we are doing isn't working well. It's the best time, I repeat, it's the best time to revisit our plan so we can refocus on what we are trying to accomplish. I tell this to my students very frequently. Now, if they are writing papers on a topic that they need to submit or assign and they are falling short of ideas, they need not show signs of frustrations. It's okay. Take a walk, think about it, use a pen and a pad, scribble something, give it some sort of a structure. And then suddenly, if you focus and redo and refocus, I'm sure you'll find a way out. But the only thing is that how desperate you are, how much is your burning desire to do what you want to do. So 5 is refocus and recommit to what you want. Number 6, take new. The focus here is new. Take new actions. If what we are doing is not working for us and is causing frustration, it is a trigger to do things differently. Try something different. If something that you have tried, you know it has worked in the past, is not working for you, So, apart from the fact that you need to refocus and redo, there is always a possibility to challenge yourself to do something new that you have never done before. This may mean that we have to ask for help. Bring down your ego, be humble. We are all humans, we all fail, we are all vulnerable. Ask for help or improve certain things and change the way you do certain things. So take new actions. And finally, there is something I would like to say about cognitive restructuring. I repeat, cognitive restructuring. Now, this is basically a therapeutic technique that help people notice and change their negative thinking patterns. So, in case there is something negativity that is coming into your mind that basically pushes you out to give up or to just forget about it, you need to know that this is exactly the time that you need to change. When thought patterns become destructive and self defeating, it is a good idea to explore ways to interrupt and redirect it. As I said last time, the mind is a place of divine creative ability. So there is a possibility that you can distract yourself and redirect yourself and refocus on something. And this is what it's called cognitive restructuring. So, turning frustrations into fuel, as I summarize, these are the 7 points that you need to keep in mind. One or two, or even three, or even four, or in fact, all seven could work for you at different points of time. Number one, recognize what you can change and what you can't change. Pause and acknowledge what's coming up out of you. Identify the disconnect or the gap between expectations and reality. Turn your expectations into appreciation. Be proud of what you have already done. Refocus, recommit, and redo. It all depends on the burning desire that you show in order to get what you want. Take new actions, and of course, cognitive restructuring. So, friends, in summarizing, as I said, frustrations can enrage us, but it can also energize us. So turn your frustrations upside down and use it for your advantage. Thank you. So if you have liked this episode, please share it with others and please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, where you will find this video placed there forever, as well as many other videos. So as I go, my wish for you is that be well, take care, and see you soon on yet another episode of Tea Talks with Owen. Remember, the win is always within you. I'm here to help you be victorious. I believe in you, and together we can. Bye for now.